Welcome. Testing, testing, testing. Oh my God. Woo! All right, we are live. Hello, and welcome to the Charlotte Otremba Show. My name is Charlotte, and this is my show. Thank you so much for joining me. Today is my birthday. So this is a birthday episode that we are sharing together. I wish I could say that I had some sort of like balloon or party planned for this episode, but that would like not be the vibe of this show, so I don't. And it's just me in my apartment in a very COVID style birthday podcast. And that's fine. But you know what? I'm going a little crazy because I got some hard cider here, courtesy of Ella. Shout out Ella. Brought many cans of cider over last time she came over to hang out, which I really appreciated because it was just like a low-key hang. And I was like, she asked if she could bring anything. I said, yeah, I guess you could maybe bring some cider. I'm kind of in the mood for cider, which I recognize in hindsight is sort of like the most random thing to say. I mean, just tell somebody they can come over and don't have to bring anything. But I said cider because she asked, and it's what I wanted. And she brought 2 kinds of cider. Maybe 3? 2 kinds. Oh, and then Lon also brought a 3rd cider because I told everybody that I wanted cider as like a way to cover my bases or something in case somebody didn't deliver on the cider. Everybody did. Everybody being Ella and Lon both delivered on the cider. So there's still cider left over to nobody's surprise. And this is like a ginger citrus cider. Aren't you glad you got to listen to me sip on that? It's like ASMR for hard cider. You know what? Maybe that's my calling, is just doing cider commercials. How many times do you think I've said cider thus far? And we're not even, 2 minutes in? Cider, cider, cider. Gulp. I'm gonna grab a straw. It's paper, don't worry, it's paper. I used the metal one time and I got some hate on my YouTube. And this person was like, okay, this is great, but like your metal straw is clanking around, it's so annoying. Except she said it kind of stronger than that. It was a little sassy, and I did appreciate her. I said, you're right, my metal straw was clanking around and that's annoying. But I saved a turtle that day. A nice quiet sip. So it is my birthday. I am another year older, and it's so nuts because I just remember February 2020, we were hearing about coronavirus. It seemed to be specifically in Wuhan. And I think I remember somebody saying that they, had a colleague or knew somebody over there and they, hadn't left their apartment in however many days because it was literally like you do not leave your apartment sort of thing. And they're really strict, obviously. And then it just seemed like international news that you read once a week or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like I didn't think that it was coming here, which is, I know, a very privileged thing to say. And anyway, and yeah, we had a birthday out at a bar. I accidentally chose a bar that had a private party that night, which I did not know, but told all of these people to go there. So then I had to tell everybody, please do not go there. There is a private party, and please come to this other bar. Nailed it. And then you just think literally a month later, everything changed. Because literally a month later, we all just shut down. It's just so crazy. And now even this year, I feel weird about it. I don't know. I mean, I'll probably see some friends. I don't even know though. It would have to be outside. I don't know. It's just a weird time. It's just crazy. And it also feels like it feels like my last birthday was just a month ago because it doesn't feel like 2020 happened. Oh, next month is March? Last month was March 2020. Like, what do you mean? Like, it's just insane. So there's that. It's my birthday. I feel, I guess like every birthday now at this age is a little bit not scary, but you are becoming progressively realer as a human being, right? Like you are becoming more yourself and more, you are becoming more adult, I guess, which like you already were an adult, but for whatever reason, when you are, 21, 22, you're like, la la la, life is endless. Now I'm at the stage where I'm like, okay, every decision matters. So stop effing around, like get it together while still having that positive attitude that makes you open to new experiences. You have to just strike that balance. And that's where I am, I guess, drinking hard cider in my apartment on my birthday with you. You, me, hard cider, talking about fun things. So anyway, and then Valentine's Day, I just went out to a very nice dinner with Lon, my live-in boyfriend. I keep him here. And it was very nice. We went to a little restaurant around the corner from us that we had gone to sort of early on when we moved to the neighborhood. So it was really nice to go back. It's called Market Table. If any of you are in the West Village, it is such a great spot. Highly recommend. Amazing food, amazing service. Big fan, big fan. And another big thing happened this weekend, which is that we adopted a cat from a shelter. It's huge. This is huge. I mean, this is huge. This changes everything. I am a cat parent now. I am responsible for another being. It's only been 2 or 3 days, but still, it's me. I'm responsible. This creature could die if I do not care for this creature, and pretty much the world would stop turning if not for me. I have been looking at and talking about and wanting a cat for a while. I mean, not to everybody. I wasn't like obsessive, but I would say to like people I was close to or a select few people, I kind of talked about it, and definitely to Lon. I mean, Lon's been listening to it for a while. I think a lot of it boils down to that I'm by myself for a lot of the day working, and I get lonely. But I also like my alone time, right? Like, so a dog would be like too much togetherness, but a cat would kind of be perfect. Like, we would have our time together when we want it, and then both of us would retreat and know that we've maxed out our socializing and bonding time, and please leave me alone for a little, and then we'll check back in. So I had been researching a few different shelters nearby, and can I just say, this is another thing that COVID has really effed up, is the adoption process, because at least in New York City, none of them, only one I could find, let you meet the cats or dogs in person. And it was way out on Long Island in Port Washington, North Shore Animal Lake. Shout out North Shore, which is where my family adopted our pets growing up. Love North Shore, but it's an hour drive from us. And, I'd like to try to be a little more local and help out pets closer to us geographically. And none that I could find in the city let you go meet them in person. So then you have to like reach out and basically apply before you even meet any cats. And then you have to kind of like decide based on this poorly written webpage if this cat is the one you want to live in your home for 18 years. This paragraph that some poor overworked volunteer had to come up with when there's cats and dogs entering this place at God knows what rate, and they have to try to figure out within a day what this pet is like and how this animal will act in your home, and write it on this webpage along with some poorly taken photos because they're in, like, you know, cages, or they have placed them with a foster. Which I guess this is the positive thing about COVID and animal shelters, is that the pets got to go to fosters because it's easier, you know, for volunteers, and they don't want things spreading. Okay, whatever. So then it's like photos that the foster have taken, and so those are hit or miss. And then you get these paragraphs, yeah, that are poorly written. And then sometimes, like, I remember this one shelter, then sometimes, like, you could tell, like, the foster submitted some rambling essay about this animal, like, that they've known for a week. Like, from the moment little Kringles peeked his head through our door and nuzzled against my foot, I knew he was something special. That is so sweet. But you do not know yet. You don't know yet. It's like, it's been a few days. It's been a day. It's been a day. No, but in all seriousness, that's amazing work that they do. So anyway, I was kind of going along the line with this one shelter that was basically just closest to us. And it, like, would take forever because you're waiting for emails back from, like, fosters and from adoption, quote unquote, adoption counselors, who, again, are, like, overworked volunteers that only spend part of their time there. So they're not going to be answering your email. So it would sometimes take, like, a few days or a week to get an email back. And then, like, by that time, the animal that you might have been interested in is, like, adopted. And then you set up an appointment. And so then this happened to me where, like, I wanted to get as much information as I could about a few different animals because I can't go meet them in person and ask somebody about them. So I, like, would send a lot of emails, and I'd be like, okay, please tell me about this one and this one and this one. Tell me about all of your cats. And I remember we met one over Zoom, and I had to kind of be the bearer of bad news and say, this pet is not going to be right for us. I mean, unfortunately, as soon as they said, oh yeah, she eats until she throws up, that did it for me. I was like, well, that's not gonna work. Sorry, I'm gonna... I appreciate how cute she is and that she's food motivated, and I understand, but I will not be dealing with that. I've been upfront about the fact that I cannot handle a kitten. We have too small of an apartment, and we cannot really handle big medication or health needs since we are first-time pet owners ourselves. And then you're gonna tell me that this cat can't self-regulate her food consumption and she throws up? No, that's dog behavior, and I don't want a dog. We want a cat. We want a cat who can control themselves, because cats can. And I love dogs. We grew up with a dog, love dogs, but dogs cannot control themselves. No matter how much food that you put in front of them, they will inhale it within seconds. It could be a quarter of a cup, or it could be 10 bowls. They will eat it all. And then they will throw up. And then, like, the foster kept being like, oh yeah, she's very food motivated, you know, da-da-da. Like, babe, no, we're taking weekend trips. We want to go skiing. We're going skiing in a couple weeks. You know, we're going to go visit my family. We're going to go visit Lon's family. We're going to, take an impulse trip once we can travel again to Europe or something. I don't know. Maybe we'll move to Switzerland. Who knows? I need to know that we can leave for a couple days and the cat's going to be okay. And you can't do that with a dog. Love dogs, but you can't do that with a dog. Anyway, found a different shelter, actually in New Jersey, called Liberty Humane Society, shout out. And from the very beginning, they were much more kind of warm and fuzzy. Like, they called and they really talked to you about what you were looking for, and they really knew the cats that they had, and they were able to make very informed recommendations, and everything was just so much easier, the whole process. So then we met this cat over Zoom, and this poor cat was named by the shelter Bodron. And if you're wondering what that name means, I looked it up, and it is an ancient Irish drum. Why was this cat named after an ancient Irish drum? I do not know, but she certainly does not answer to that name. She is like, what is that noise you're making? That is not my name. And also, like, nobody could pronounce it between two different adoption counselors I talked to and then the foster. They were calling it, like, everything from Bodran, Bodoran, like, Boron, Boramin, Boram. Nobody could say her name. But again, I mean, they have so many pets coming in, they have to just like choose names to differentiate them. It's fine, but I would like to know the process, because it did feel like they just opened up an encyclopedia, like, and they had the B, it's like the B section. Oh, here we go. We'll take this. It's like when Joey in Friends, the salesman visits him at home and tries to sell him a whole set of encyclopedias. And Joey's like, I only have $50. And the guy's like, so I just talked you through everything and you're not gonna buy it? And Joey goes, I'm sitting home alone on a Thursday at 2 p.m. You think I'm going to be able to afford a whole encyclopedia set? So then he ends up buying one book and he buys V. So all he knows or becomes more knowledgeable about is everything in the V section. So he just keeps talking about like Mount Vesuvius or Velociraptor, like volcanoes. It's like it's so funny and so spot on. It made me think of the fact that this cat was probably just named off of like a B word that they had open on a page or like a web page. Okay, fast forward to we decide we're going to adopt her. So we set the time. She has like one more set of vaccinations and we pick her up after that. So we already knew we were going to pick her up after a couple of vaccinations, so she might be like lethargic or something. Except we get there and you're supposed to call inside because of like COVID protocol, and you stay in the car and they say, okay, please put the carrier on the bench outside the front door. We're like, okay. So we go put the carrier on the bench. Then a couple minutes pass and then somebody exits the building and grabs the carrier and takes it back inside. And I'm not kidding, it was like a man with a ponytail. A man with a ponytail darts out, grabs the carrier, brings it back inside. A couple minutes pass, the same man with the ponytail darts back out and sets the carrier back down on the bench and darts back inside. And you can see that there is a small cat inside the carrier. So I go pick up the carrier, bring the cat into the car, and she's, of course, shaking. You can like feel her shaking. It was so sort of sad. Except on top of that, you can sort of see that her fur is kind of wet. And I'm like, okay, maybe I should give her a bath. But then there's like this yellowish tint to it. And on top of that, she smells like rotten eggs. Like smells so bad. It smells like she was doused in a fart and then put on that bench for us to pick up. And we're like, what? And as we're driving, we're like trying to feel it out. Like, is it her or is it the towel she's in? Like maybe they gave her a dirty towel, and it becomes clear that no, it is her. And so I keep calling back into the place. No answer, no answer. So I leave a message and I'm like, hi, this is Charlotte. Just picked up Bodron and she's kind of wet and smells really bad. Is this okay? Like, did she just get peed on by like the mean bully cats or something? Like, what's going on? So they immediately call back, and I kid you not, the lady's like, hi, Charlotte. gosh, sorry, we meant to tell you about this, but she just had to get another lime sulfur dip to make sure that the last of her feline lice is killed off. So that's what the smell and wetness is. And I'm like, oh, that's a big one. And I'm like, okay, so is there still feline lice? And she's like, no, this was just to make, she'd already had some dip, so this was just to make sure the last of the eggs were killed. I'm like, okay, great. And then on top of that, she now keeps referring to Bodron as a boy. Like, oh, he might want to just be in the bathroom, like it might rub off, like, oh, he might, you know, just be kind of wet still. Oh, this. I said, okay, just gonna stop you right there. I thought I adopted a girl cat. Is Bodron a girl or a boy? What cat am I holding right now? And she goes, oh, let me just check the paperwork. Oh, you're right. Yep, she is a girl cat. And I'm like, so when's the smell gonna go away? She's like, oh, in a day or two. I'm like, oh my God. So now we get home and we have this cat, and she smells like sulfur, and she is yellow and wet and shaking because she is probably both cold and terrified because she was just doused in this yellow lime sulfur material that's wet and crusty, and now she's in a whole new home after she's just been handed off via carrier by a man in a ponytail, put in some stranger's car, and driven over the tunnel, under the tunnel. Okay, so now we get into the apartment, and she like immediately finds a place to hide and like hides behind the refrigerator. Didn't even know we had enough room behind the refrigerator, but we do. And so she hides there. And she stayed there for like 12 hours probably. And then we were able to kind of coax her out for a little bit, and she ate, and then she hid a little, and anyway, kind of went back and forth like that. And now she is much more comfortable. So we adopted her Saturday. It's now Tuesday. And like today she kind of like hung out near me while I was working, and then she like took a break to go under the bed, and she kind of naps there for a little, and then she'll like come back out and kind of like talk and be like prr, prr, and like see what I'm doing in the kitchen or like whatever. The smell of the sulfur has faded, but then I think yesterday, it might have been yesterday, that she took like her first bowel movement that wasn't pee. And we were getting a little worried because it had been like a couple days and she hadn't like passed a salad yet. And we were literally about to go to dinner, and we hear her go in the litter box, and we're like, okay. And then we hear her like scraping a little, and then we hear like what can only be described as like a loud, wet fart that a human would make. Like, this thing was loud. It was like, it almost was like so loud and like a perfect wet fart that it like could be a sound effect in a cartoon. Like, it was. And then you heard like the plop into the litter. I mean, the whole thing was so loud. And then I swear we were hit by a wall of smell that is unlike anything I have smelled before. I mean, I almost suffocated. And she is a small cat, an 8-pound cat, single-handedly stunk up our entire one-bedroom apartment. And like, the thing was huge. I mean, it must have been like 2 or 3 days since she passed, and she must have ingested all of that lime sulfur stuff because she had been licking herself. And like, I mean, she like came out and she was like noticeably thinner. Like, she had lost a couple pounds. Oh man, that thing. And then she did another one like not soon after. And then like just went right back to the food bowl to like reload. I've watched her go from the litter box to the food bowl. I mean, every time she leaves, it's like, all right, gotta reload. I've emptied myself out. What's my stomach gonna do? It needs something. It needs something to work through and keep itself occupied. Oh my God. It's like, and meanwhile, I'm having like full panics. Like it must be on a very small scale what like postpartum is. I feel like I had like post pet adoption syndrome, like anxiety or something. I was like, oh my God, like everything's changing. The dynamic's gonna change. Like Lana and I will not love each other the same. Like she's gonna get between us. Like our dynamic in the apartment is different. Like we're not comfortable with each other. What if we don't ever like each other? What if she just keeps making these really loud, disgusting poops? I can't live like this. And on top of that, the poor thing just smells like sulfur. Anyway, I'm happy to say we're in a much better place now. I mean, we are in a great place now, so. We really are. Like, we snuggled more today and yesterday, and she's like so cute. She's black and white. And her name's Coco. We dropped Bodron, and now she like looks up at Coco. It's really cute. She's so cute, and I'll keep you posted. Right now, we're actually technically foster. So we're in the foster period right now. So if something does go wrong, I don't know. I don't foresee that happening, but if something does go wrong, we're just fosters right now. Okay. The other, shifting gears again, the other thing I wanted to talk about is I got to be a guest on the SNL After Party podcast, which I am so freaking pumped about. So one of the co-hosts, Catherine, is in my writers group that I meet with on Tuesdays. And she is a sketch writer and a comedian and co-host of this podcast. And it's like Peabody Award winning. I mean, they're like so legit, and like somehow wanted me. They must have like had a dropout or something. And they were like, okay, she seems eager. I'm sure Charlotte will fill in. And sure enough, like within 1 minute of her emailing me, I was like, 1000% yes. I've only been dreaming about this. Please pick me. Pick me. So, did like 3 sound checks on my own in my apartment, like all that day. And yeah, and everything went pretty well. We basically like nerded out about each of the sketches, and it was just such a blast. I freaking loved it. I want to listen to it before I talk any more about it, but I will say that I feel like I was like so nervous at the beginning. Like, you know, before you get your groove, and, you know, I didn't, like, I knew Catherine, you know, we had met, I mean, I think we've had like 4 writers group sessions together. So I'm still like getting to know her, and then I didn't know her co-host. So I like wasn't sure how the dynamic was going to feel and how it was going to flow. And to Catherine's credit, she really like directed the conversation really well. And it also helps that it's a pretty set, a set format where they just go through each sketch and talk about it. And then you talk about maybe notes or things that worked for you or didn't work. And, so that makes it nice and clear. But at the beginning, like, John was just asking when I started watching SNL or something, and then I like for the life of me could remember no names. I think I said Bill Hader like 6 times, as if he like Bill Hader, and I think Bill Hader, and I loved like the sketches with like Bill Hader and like Bill Hader, as if like he was the only cast member, like as if after all of these years. Bill Hader, the only cast member of SNL. I didn't say any of the other ones. Like, and then I was like, oh yeah, and Kristen Wiig. I don't know. Bill Hader is obviously like a favorite, but there are other people, and I have other favorites, and it was just so. I like my entire brain just farted, just like Coco's bowel movement. So. Anyway, I will link that. I think it well, I'll link if I think the Patreon, however you say it, Patreon version, which is the extended version, which is like the full version, is live now. And I don't believe it's even that expensive. I feel like I saw like maybe $1. Wow, don't want to speak out of turn. But I think definitely worth it, especially if you love Saturday Night Live or love sketch comedy and just want to listen to people nerd out about it. Like we kind of just dive into each sketch, which I freaking love. I mean, the time just flew by. It was so, I just was like so grateful to be a part of it. And it was so cool to have, like, you know, I've been studying and practicing and writing and creating sketches for a while now. And like it felt, and you know, obviously I studied writing in college and theater and acting and blah, 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 many things I've done because I can't seem to focus. But like sketch comedy, I feel like has been really special to me and I've really stuck with, and I'm so committed to getting better at. And it really felt cool to have my opinion be validated in such a way that they wanted to hear it, right? Like that these two guests who are experts and they wanted to hear mine and that it's now recorded. I'm just so grateful. It's so cool. So anyway, that's a long rambling way of saying I hope you listen to the SNL After Party podcast. And I will link it, and it's on the most recent episode, which is the Regina King hosted episode. And yeah, check it out. My rec of the week, really quickly, would probably... What's a rec of the week, babe?
Buy a cat.
My rec of the week this week would be a cat. I, so far, even with the rough start, am quite happy with my new adoptee, Coco. So always adopt, don't shop if possible, and help out a shelter pet in need. All right, there won't be any advice this week since we're at time, but be sure to send me your questions so that I can answer them in next week's episode. I'll put a little poll on Instagram, so make sure to follow me on Instagram at Charlotte Otremba, and then I'll put a little poll, and then you can submit your questions. All right, that's it. Thank you so much for joining me. It means so much to have you here. Make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube, leave a review wherever you listen to the podcast. It would really mean a lot, and I can't wait to see you and talk with you next week. Bye-bye.